Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Upon Further Review. Here to wrap up week 2 and get a look at week 3, start of conference play in and throughout Northeast Indiana, alongside Eric Doot. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and we welcome you to Upon Further Review, whether you're listening via YouTube, watching us YouTube, X, you name it, and Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock on The Fan, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. We appreciate you tuning us in this week as we wrap up a very exciting week 2, I could say, in some respects, for a lot of different teams out there. Another tough one for Snyder going up to East Noble. Big win for the Knights, and we both really anticipated that a little bit, just based upon the fact that East Noble had a lot of different guys coming back. And then the game that we had on the 1380, the Fan Game of the Week, Carroll and Center Grove. That was a kind of a back and forth game, but in the end, Center Grove comes away with the victory there at Carroll again. And Carroll is also 0-2. So the first time in forever, I think, the two powerhouses, Snyder and Carroll, are both 0-2 heading into conference play this week, Eric. And it's just one of those things when you play good, talented teams, irregardless whether they're from Northeast Indiana or Indianapolis, the chances of losing are razor thin. And that's what those two teams found out this week. And Carroll's really lost a couple tight ones with Hamilton Southeastern and now Center Grove. And Snyder had their hands full with Warsaw and then found their hands full again against East Noble.
Yeah, I think, another weekend. And I think really for me, the big takeaway is out of all those two games, really East Noble, how good they are. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Snyder may not have what the horses that they've had in the last couple of years. And it ultimately may be a down year for Snyder. Time will tell in that as we enter SAC play. But I think East Noble is picked up right where they left off from a year ago. They did lose a lot to graduation, but I think ultimately too, they go to the state finals a year ago. They're back, prime form. So many players back on top of it, and another year older with that group. But yeah, Center Grove beating Carroll by 11 points, 35-24 in our Midwest Box Breaks Game of the Week on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Realistically, I think you kind of expect that or know that's a possibility. Center Grove beat Warren Central the week before pretty handily. And so, but I think in talking with Coach Jaydin at Media Day, the premise was, look, it has been same with Snyder and same with Noble, Homestead and Dwenger and some of the bigger schools in the SAC to pick prime time good opponents, particularly from the Indianapolis area. Even if you have to go down there and even if you have to get your butt kicked a little bit, how that helps you out in the long run through the SAC schedule and ultimately in the postseason. Coach Jaydin, referenced Lures. Lures is a team that's been there twice in a row. They won state one year, runner-up last year. And we had 3 teams from our area, if you want to throw Warsaw in there, the third team, to make the state finals a year ago with actually 4, actually 2. You can't forget Adams Central down in there. Adams Central, Lures, East Noble, Warsaw all make it from kind of the area with one state champion out of it. But I think it tells you, there's a lot of good talent across Northeast Indiana, not just Fort Wayne, not just the SAC. And that's what's great about platforms like this. I'll have a chance to talk about it. I know we have some big guests tonight coming up here in the show a little bit. We'll talk to Alex Scott from East Noble. Big season so far for him and after 2 games. And later on, we're going to talk to Northside quarterback Jaydin Rivers, coach. A new face on the scene here in the 260, but he's had quite the journey. Been at a couple different schools before Northside and picking up where he's left off, putting up some good numbers and a really strong player for them. So looking forward to talking to them tonight.
Yeah, the East Noble game, and we can circle back to the Carroll Center Grove, but with Alex coming on, we'll kind of recap this ball game to start. But East Noble, really was never in doubt in some respects. 29-7. The game was called early due to a medical situation that happened to a Snyder player in that game. They end up calling it early out of the utmost respect and caution for that was occurring. From all practical purposes and knowledge that I've seen, the young man is doing well and on his way to recovery. So that in itself is the most important thing about that game Friday night. But you cannot look past the effort that East Noble gave not only this year, but even last year when we had that game. It was the Lightning game. Forced East Noble to come back the next morning at 10 o'clock, go play at Northside, and they end up losing that game. But that first half of that game last year, they controlled everything and anything in that ball game. And this game here, Eric, it sounds like they controlled it basically from the start until the time was called.
Yeah, looking at some of the stat lines real quick. Riley Biddle, the talented senior quarterback for East Noble, 9 for 14, 118 yards, a touchdown, did throw one pick. But then the rushing attack of East Noble, 278 yards on the ground, split up, 4 different ways with touchdowns each from Lucas Niemann, Ian Ramey, and the freshman Austin Phillips, who I saw him this summer. He's going to be a stud, somebody to watch on that team as well. So really good outing. And another good outing, Coach, a good segue there. We talked about it earlier. Our guest tonight, going to bring him in now, Alex Scott from East Noble. Alex had another big game offensively and defensively. And Alex, first of all, thanks for joining us here tonight on Upon Further Review.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so talk about the win. I mean, it really, just that win, a convincing win that you guys had over the Snyder Panthers last Friday night, 29-7 up in Kendallville. Clicking on all cylinders. We just talked about it, the real offensive balance. You are part of that offensive attack these days. Just and getting that touchdown too, the passing touchdown from Biddle. Talk about Friday night and really what we saw out there and really what's clicking for this team right now.
I feel like you said, we're really clicking on all cylinders with our running game and passing game. It really comes down to our coaches, Alex Stewart and Brett Seibel. I mean, they put together a lot of good concepts for us, and they call all of our plays, and they put us in the right positions to go be the athletes and make plays. Yeah.
Talk about what you guys have coming back. A lot has been made of the graduation. You guys go to state a year ago, fall short in that game. You have a mental attitude of Warner and Dylan Crail who kind of led the way for things. But you also have so many coming back and throwing some new pieces in. And second year for Coach Stewart too. What is it about this East Noble team that you guys, like I said, kind of picked it up where you left off from the state trip a year ago?
It's really a lot of grit and resilience. I mean, guys like Cohen Quake on our D line, he didn't play a lot last year as a sophomore. But him in week 1 having 3 sacks, I mean, it kind of just shows what kind of work he puts in the weight room. And then Austin Phillips, obviously, he's a freshman, real big dude. He's in the weight room all the time and getting bigger and stronger and faster. And I feel like that really is what puts us ahead of everybody else, the time that we spend in the weight room.
Sure. Did you anticipate that things would kind of be this way again for this year? I mean, we saw a lot. Oh my gosh, they're graduating a lot, but did you guys know we're going to be okay?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely the scrimmages in the summer definitely helped too. I mean, seeing all those guys running around and during the summer and then getting after it at practices, Monday night practices, and in the weight rooms in the morning. I mean, everybody was bought in this summer, and I think that's what really has helped us so far.
Yeah, Alex, Coach Griff here, and first, congratulations. And I was watching some of that game today, and did you guys get a new turf this year?
Yeah, we did.
I thought it looked a little bit spiffy out there with some of the things they did to it. Pretty nice. That's what happens when you go to state, man. You get all the money. So, big, like I said, beating Snyder again, it cannot go unnoticed. The fact that even last year, you guys had Snyder in a pickle prior to that storm delay that made you guys come back the next day, like at 10 o'clock in the morning, on a hot, humid evening that was. And unfortunately lost that game. But this game for you, 8 tackles, 2 pass breakups. You had 1 interception return, I believe, 2 catches, 45 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So you're getting it done on both sides of the ball this year. Now, last year, you were predominantly a secondary defensive back. So which side of the ball do you feel the most at home at, even though you're playing both ways this year?
I've really put a lot of time in the offseason as a wide receiver. Last year I didn't get the chance. There's a lot of seniors ahead of me, and a lot of seniors that worked hard for 4 years, and they deserved the spots that they got. So I was really grateful to be in the spot at DB, and on a team like that goes to state, I was grateful to be there. But wide receiver is really, I think, my position. That's where I like to play the most.
Yeah, and now that you guys have picked it up here after 2 weeks of non-conference game, you'll look to step into the Northeast 8 again this year, which looks to be pretty strong from some of the indications. Columbia City's off to a good start. They had a big win at Northwood a week ago and handled a Plymouth team last week. It seems like they've got a rushing attack this year that's pretty potent right now. Huntington North, out of all practical purposes, could be essentially 2-0. I mean, they lost week 1 by a point, and then they lost by 8 to Northrop this past week. As you get going here, you're lining up next week against a Norwell team that right now is a little down again this year, 0-2 overall, lost the last 7 straight. When you go into a game where on paper and in video and all that, where you're better than the team that across from you, what is the emphasis that Coach Stewart and your coaches hammer home on a week coming up like this first road trip to Norwell, knowing on paper you're maybe better than they are, and you're going into hostile territory the first of the year? What is it they're hammering home this week from a practice standpoint?
I think we play Huntington North in week 3. Okay. We're at home against Huntington North next week. So
I misread that. Let's talk about that one then. I jumped a week ahead there. Our partners, thanks for correcting me there. It is Huntington North. That's why I was talking about them. I just completely faked myself out there. So my bag on that one. A Huntington North team that has lost 2 games, but tight games.
Yeah. No, watching film on those games, it's definitely a good team, well-rounded team. They were good last year too. They gave us a really good battle, and in week 3 last year we were down at halftime, I remember, and then we kind of pulled it together when we played them in the regional championship. But I mean, they did lose a lot of seniors, but they're still a good team, good all around. Their defense is stout, and I think really in practice this week we just have to work on doing our things. We don't have to do anything fancy, just like what we did against Wayne and Snyder. I mean, we just need to work on the fundamentals and do the stuff that we're best at.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you guys have always had a tendency to, when you go to Huntington North, it's been always a tough arena for you guys to go on the road there. So you got them at home on Friday night, and that's going to be probably one of your other big tests here in the first 3 weeks of the season, coming off that Snyder game. Were you guys surprised at maybe how you won against Snyder, or did you guys kind of sense that through the week?
No, we were really confident through the week. I know a lot of people online, saying Snyder, is a little down, but East Noble is too. But I feel like that's what's really helped us against games like Wayne and Snyder, what people don't really know about us, since we had a lot of people graduate last year. I think everybody is really bought in and confident. I think we come in with sort of a swagger when we play teams like that, and our mentality, everybody's mentality on the line, and our skill guys is always really good.
All right, Alex. Hey, buddy. Well, we appreciate you joining us here today on Upon Further Review, and we look forward to catching the Knights down the road. Hopefully we can get a game up there this year, and I'm sure we will be up there sooner rather than later, because we're always treated well there at East Noble. So best of luck this week and the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Alex Scott from East Noble High School, as the Knights with a victory over the Snyder Panthers this past Friday night in a game that, again, had totally under control in a 29-7 win. Take on the Huntington North Vikings this week at home as well at 7 o'clock. But we're going to step aside, take a quick break here. When we get back, we're going to talk to Northside's Jaydin Rivers and get the lowdown on the Legends, all right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Welcome back here to the Upon Further Review alongside Eric Ďuričević. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and we thank you for joining us tonight. Just got done talking with Alex Scott from East Noble and their big win over the Snyder Panthers, 29-7 this past Friday night. And another young man we're going to bring in here is from the Northside Legends. Jaydin Rivers is going to join us here to talk about the Legends' 2-0 start this past week with a big win over New Haven, 39-23. Jaydin, appreciate you joining us here this evening, my man.
Great. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for joining us. I think maybe first of all, this is your first year at Northside. Sorry, you guys are playing Northrop this weekend. Northside quarterback. Talk about coming in. What it's been like coming to Fort Wayne and really, being a part of this Legends team now.
Being in Fort Wayne is great. My mom had to move for her job, so I had to move to Fort Wayne. And Northside, they just brought me in as one of their own since day one. Coach BJ has been a great coach for me. Coach Davis, Coach Courtney, all the coaches on the staff has been welcoming to me, and especially the players. I like the family bond there. It's really just a family tight connection there as soon as I got there since day one, and that's why we've been striving these past 2 weeks, because we bring our brotherhood and connection on the field.
Sure. Talk me a little bit through your journey. Like I said, you're a senior. This is your first year at Northside and first year in Fort Wayne. You said you moved for your mom's job. Just your football journey. You were at Warren Central a year ago, and
Yes,
just
sir.
talk about your maturation over time, and developing as a quarterback, and really the stops you've been, how you've become a better player as you take over this Northside team.
Yeah, so I started playing quarterback in 8th grade, my 8th grade year during COVID year. And I fell in love with the position at Nike camp at Lake Forest College. And on the car ride back, I had a conversation with my dad, and he really thought that I loved the position. So ever since then, I've fallen in love with it, doing grinding every day, doing what comes with the job and the position. Many trainers. I had 3 trainers in the past, Antoine Taylor, Anthony Morelli, and Coach Brown. And so all of those trainers are great people, great trainers. And Warren Central really helped me become a better person and a better quarterback and a leader. As you know, that's a great winning program over there. Shout out to Coach K and those guys over there. And it just helped me with experience, to lead these guys at Northside, knowing that Warren Central is a 6A program and with a championship pedigree. So I just look to bring that forward to Northside, and just continue to be the leader that I am, and just lead these guys on.
Sure. What have you seen since coming over to Northside? What's the most exciting thing about this team? A lot of playmakers out there. They have struggled to win, to put it all together. But I think the excitement of just what they have coming out on the field, they've had a lot of high D1 recruits in the last 5 or 6 years, now entering the fold. Just what you're excited to kind of see and get to be a part of at Northside.
Really, the key word this summer, and as when I first got in there, was discipline. Like you said, Northside has been struggled to win in the past with a lot of talent on the team, and Coach BJ has been instilling discipline on the team since day one. And I feel like our team's energy has been matching that ever since he's then brought that up. So we're really just going week in, week out, executing with the game plan that we have, just staying disciplined, keeping our heads straight forward, not worried about any outside noise, and just going out there and having fun. We have all the playmakers. Shout out to my offensive line too. This is, to my knowledge, the best offensive line Northside has had in the past years, and I love those guys. I've taken 0 sacks in the past 2 weeks, So those guys are getting it done for us up front. And, just the playmakers, Malik Moore, Travion, Sebastian Moore, Jarmeek Harrison, Jay-Sean Early, Caleb Kingley. I can go on and on. Sutton Yarko. Those guys just get it done for me. I don't really have to do too much. I can give the ball to my playmakers and they work. And the defense just, and those guys they put in the work every day and practice, always have the energy up and rolling. So I'm really excited for what this year has for us and what we have in store.
Hey, Jaydin, Coach Griffith there. Hey, big Friday night, 17 to 27. It's about 63%. Throw for over 300 yards, 372 to be exact, 3 TDs, and most impressive, no interceptions this week at all. So that's
this season.
This
so
season
far.
as well. I was bringing that in next because, a guy playing the position understands that you cannot put it in the hands of the other team. And you've grown from last year as a junior from Warren Central. Now you're in your third home, making the start. And what has been your success? What would you lend your success to this year on this early start with, completions and being accurate?
So I can say my preparation this offseason. I've taken a lot of time in the film room studying. The game is like a test. If you know the answers, you should know. You should be successful and pass. So if you study for it, like my trainer, Coach Antoine says, preparation beats pressure all the time. So, and the experience that I've learned at Warren Central, last year was rough for me, and my goal this whole offseason was to keep the ball safe, keep the ball with me. And, I've just been executing that since week 0, having 0 turnovers.
Well, yeah. And then we're watching some of your highlights here and, a couple of years, last year, and I think maybe the year before, this is always one of those tough games with New Haven that you got on the schedule because you never know what they're going to have for you. And they always got some really good athletes out there on the field. So next week, this coming Friday, you're heading over to Spooler Stadium to take on another undefeated team thus far, and that's the Northrop Bruins, who are 2-0 and have probably one of the best receivers in the state of Indiana, who's going on to Ohio State next year. So tell me what you see from the Bruins heading into this week with the 2 top teams in the Summit Athletic Conference lining up against each other.
Northrop, they're pretty talented team. They have talent over there on both sides of the ball. I've been studying my film ever since Friday night, and to me, it's really just the same. Just keeping this week is no different from any other week. Just keeping my head forward, discipline, studying the film, preparation, and just getting the job done. This isn't new to me. Last year I beat nationally ranked Ben Davis in double overtime. So games like this, it's really not new to me. Just going out there, executing, and getting the job done.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is you talked about your offensive line in front of you, and it looked like they gave you plenty of time again on Friday night. What has been the big key up front with those guys this year thus far that's enabling you to have a chance to make these throws down the field, especially?
One of our captains is our starting. He actually plays anywhere where we need him that week. Darion Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really just the anchor on that offensive line. He just puts in the work every day, never complains. All of my linemen, they never complain. They get after it every day, getting scout team reps, helping the defense give looks, and just helping us overall just be a better, productive offense. And shout out senior Quincy Smith and shout out sophomore center. This is his first year starting at center, Lavardis. He's been a tremendous person the whole summer, getting every rep in practice, not taking any breaks, and he hasn't complained one time. I just love those guys, man, because you really can't do anything without those guys. They make the money happen. So, yeah.
That's right. They make the money happen.
Jaydin, where are you from originally?
Indy? I'm from, Indy.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. That's good. Well, you've got a tremendous story. I mean, really, players come and change schools a lot of times in the area. I can't remember a time where a Warren Central kid has come into Fort Wayne, but you really have kind of set that place on fire over at Northside, and really strong start for those Legends, off to a 2-0 start for the first time since 2012. You are certainly a big part of that with what you've been able to do through 2 weeks, along with several of those other players that you mentioned that we'll be seeing all season long. So best of luck to you this season. You guys have Northrop on Friday night. We'll see how that one shapes out at Spooler. Have a great season, and thanks for joining us tonight on Upon Further Review.
No problem.
See you, Jaydin.
All right. Jaydin Rivers joining us, the new quarterback for the Northside Legends. A southpaw on top of that, Coach.
Yeah, we're
let me ask you, for analyst to former player and coach, a left-handed quarterback, what does that present? Less of them, but a different, is that a different type of weapon, or coaching a left-handed quarterback? What all does that entail?
Oh, it's not much different. Of course, I hold it against them explicitly, like I did Freisinger up at Carroll on Friday night.
Yeah, Freisinger was another one we saw Friday night.
Yeah, but, not as much as it used to be. There are some protection things, because usually everybody's protections are set to a right-handed quarterback out of, holding things against left-handed people, I guess. We live in a world that's a right-handed world, and every left-handed person probably can tell you about, the desk in the classroom is for right-handed people and not a left-handed person and things like that. So there's not. And
not only that, the stuff that's made for left-handed people is made by right-handed people.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the left-handed scissors, yeah, but they were made by right-handed people. I don't know if they really get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a lefty myself, so I get it. No, but
that's the thing. I mean, it's the protection, but that's about it. I mean, and Jaydin, from the tape that I've seen on him, he's a talented kid. He stands in the pocket. He doesn't, bail on things too early. And hey, this game Friday night at Spooler, you're talking two of the top teams in each division, A and B. And when you look at it, here's Northside. They scored 30, scored 60, and only given up 30. And a Northrop team that scored 72, but they've only given up 23 points this year. And that is a vast improvement from last year for them, because they were a team that could score points, but they were giving up about as many as they were scoring a year ago. So this one has a dandy written all over it heading into Spooler Stadium Friday night.
Yeah, and we'll break down some of the games later, but I think off the bat, I mean, this to me comes across as the most intriguing matchup of the Friday night. I mean, this may not be the best teams playing each other, and there's a lot of good games at different conferences, but I think just the excitement and the buzz around it, because you have 2-0 Northside, first time since 2012, against 2-0 Northrop. Two Fort Wayne community schools that, Northrop has struggled for a long time. Northside has not had the success recently. And so to kind of see them, and really the SAC has kind of changed schedules this year. So Northrop is in the A division with all the big schools, so to speak, and they're the biggest of them all. But I mean, realistically, that A division with Carroll and Snyder and Dwenger and Homestead. But on the B side of things, Northside is there. So it's one of those crossover kind of weekends. I think it is one of the crossover weekends to start the SAC. And it's a new rotation. So we get Snyder Lures, we get Northrop Northside, Carroll Southside again, or maybe that's Carroll Concordia playing. So some different matchups we haven't seen, especially since the divisional lineup has started. And so it should be a really good, interesting game out there, because we do have so many playmakers on top of it to add to that storyline. Because not is it just Northrop and Northside playing, which, on paper, 35 out of 40 years, you're going to go, okay, whatever. But also, too, you look at who's out there. Jaydin Rivers is the newest one in that. We have Malik Moore. We have Caleb Kingley, Quay Guilford, Maddox Bale, even David Callison, who, I mean, I don't know his recruiting situation right now, but I would have to think that this kid is going to start getting some offers, because he's putting up some big numbers. So nevertheless, it's going to be an exciting game, because there's going to be a buzz at Spooler that we're not used to seeing.
Well, right now they're 2-0, and they're the only two undefeated teams in the Summit Athletic Conference. They're also the two teams that have scored the most. And let's see here. Yeah, Northrop is the second best defense in the Summit Athletic Conference. 𝙸𝚗 has only given up 18 points on the year. Yeah. Northrop's given up 23, and then, of course, Northside's only given up 30.
Yeah, so and their common opponent is New Haven. So I think that helps, too, where you can look at, from the head-to-head standpoint, Northrop blows out New Haven 41-0 and comes back against Huntington North. Northside holds on against New Haven a week ago and really takes care of business in week 1, 21-7 over Northridge. So,
and we get that second week teams that usually improve the best.
And New Haven did that. Credit to them and what they were able to do, because that week 1, it was and I think that's the tough part, is you want to see that improvement, and we definitely saw that. So a big one out of Friday night at Spooler Stadium for Northrop and Northside with first place SAC implications. Yeah. Well, realistically, everybody's had 0-0 in the SAC. So that's kind of a new season for everybody too, Coach. I mean, that aspect of it, you play the hard out of conference schedule, but really for teams like Snyder, Carroll, Lures, they haven't lost anything in the SAC race.
Yeah, they got everything in front of them, and they all know now what their strengths and weaknesses are heading into the conference season. And they'll all address that. And, especially Snyder. I mean, it's fairly evident Snyder has some trouble on the run game. And that's not something they've usually had to deal with there at Snyder High School. They've been pretty good against teams that ran the football. And that's something that they're going to have to address and get better at heading over to Bishop Lures this Friday night. But yeah,
and the Snyder defense giving up 33.5 points. I mean, and we're talking Warsaw and East Noble. This wasn't, Ben Davis followed by Brownsburg. This was two legit good teams in our area that have hung average 33 points against Snyder in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and East Noble in theory is at a lesser level than Snyder, but we can all argue what that means. I mean, a good team is a good team, irregardless of level that they're at. Just like
no class. How about one class football in Indiana to see how they would really be dropping like flies quick out of Northeast Indiana.
Yeah, Bishop Lures, is going to be a match for Snyder that they're going to have to address. Now they've got a young quarterback there at Lures that we saw against Leo week 1, and he did quite well. And that should be an interesting matchup. Snyder's got to find a way to get back on track this Friday night. And the best way to do that is get back to the basics of what you like to do in terms of running the ball, throwing the ball, and then on defense, learning to get in your gaps and, wrap people up and not let them break tackles and things like that. So it's 0-0 like you referenced there. And it's week 1 of another 6-7 weeks of conference football that, hey, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, we saw Carroll this past week, and I really liked on some of their guys. I mean, I still think Carroll's got a really good team. The Gabe Freisinger kid, the quarterback, I'm really impressed with him. I think they have got a legitimate replacement for what they lost and, from last year and Jimmy. And offensively speaking, I think they've got Van Pelt is still as good as Van Pelt is. Yeah. And then you've got Mason
Rudolph. Bauman,
the wide receiver. So they've got a 1-2 punch there at wide receiver and, decent kids in the backfield. So I think Carroll's going to be okay, even defensively. They went up against a pretty stout Center Grove team, had a really good quarterback and some really good athletes. Newhouser is as good a linebacker as you're going to find in the Summit Athletic Conference as well. And they got some other guys on that defense. Golddecker is one guy on the inside that's really good. I was impressed with him Friday night. And So I think Carroll's going to be just fine, and recognizing the fact that they played Hamilton Southeastern and Center Grove, two of the better programs down there in Indy, and they lost some tight ball games. And that can happen. And, you know, that's football for you. It's razor thin between winning and losing. And don't put Carroll to bed yet, because I think they're going to be there knocking on the door come the rest of the year.
Yeah, and Jaydin Van Pelt, I mean, a big night for him. He didn't play week 1. He comes in, and I mean, wow, that, and he is electric.
Wow,
I mean,
right.
that was I'm standing on the sideline, and that's the first word that came to mind with the way and that speed and realistically, they had those shots down the field with him and Freisinger and Van Pelt. They get that timing down as the season goes on. Watch out, SAC, because that is a strong tandem, because Freisinger can throw the ball all around, and he's got an arm, and Van Pelt has got the legs to get under it and then beat the secondary down the sideline to pay dirt. So,
yeah, and they got that with Mason too. I mean, he's a fairly capable guy to go down deep as well. And then the tight end's escaping my name right now, but they've got legit players at about every spot. I don't think there's really a big weakness at Carroll that I saw on Friday night. And so again, they've got Concordia this week, a game that on paper they're better than. But again, when you're 0-2, you got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to the things that you can do and coach, and try to stay away from being overly creative with a pen. That's what teams try to do when you get behind the 8 ball. All of a sudden you think you're going to coach your way out of it. And the best thing to do is let your kids play their way out of it, but skinny it back so they can play with reckless abandon and not be hesitant. Not to say that that's what they did Friday, because I didn't hint any of that. But, they've got to go at 0-2. They got a chance this Friday against Concordia.
Yep.
And, the other two teams in the area that we haven't talked about yet is the the two guys that had big wins on the road. I mean, Bishop Dwenger goes to St. Francis de Sales over in Toledo and gets a big win there, 31-15. And then how about Homestead getting a big win down at Noblesville? Yeah. Losing White, their quarterback, a week previously, coming back, having to go back down there, and not a great environment to go play. That's not an easy environment to go play there at Noblesville, and finding a way to come out the winner in a nip-tuck ball game. And I think it was 13-10 was the final there. Yeah. At Noblesville.
Touchdown in the fourth quarter there to win the game. Logan Frieden. Logan Frieden was the quarterback. Michael White out. Some reports it doesn't look like he's going to be out for a while, it appears, and we don't know everything about that injury, and we certainly wish him well, as we do the Snyder player who went down too. And anybody who's been injured out there. I mean, in week 2, and there's guys that go down, but Logan Frieden comes in as the junior quarterback, 13 for 21, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 63 rush yards for Homestead. So I think we're going to see a lot of passing. Carter Kennedy, 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's probably a kid we're going to have on the show later down the line. But a great performance and good bounce back for Homestead, especially heading into SAC play, because last year they took it on the chin twice, and it was really a season that kind of, got away from them for the most part, and really were never finding their footing. I think a little bit of you got to feel good this week if you're Chad Zolman and company in practice, getting ready for Friday night and your next game. And I think that is Southside, especially at Southside, to open up SAC play in a crossover game between the divisions. And so everybody starts anew, but I think Homestead has momentum on top of it.
Well, you brought up Carter Kennedy, who's been their kind of go-to guy, not only in the passing game, but also in the return game for them, because he had, I think, 250 total yards on Friday night. But a gutsy win by them. That's a gutsy win. And like you said, Logan Frieden comes in and he throws 13 of 21 for 231 yards. That's 62% completion percentage. 2 DDs and no interceptions, the most impressive thing for his first true varsity start. So you got to give them a lot of credit to those kids for rallying around one another, not hanging their heads, not woe is me mentality because I lose Michael for how long, we don't know. But for them to come back, get a big win down there, giving them a chance, like you said, to win it in the fourth quarter with a big touchdown pass, and then the defense, buckling up and holding on there and getting it done as well. Because let's see, I was trying to see what Noblesville got on the ground there. I don't have it yet, but I'll grab it here real quick. But, that was just a phenomenal win for them on the road. That was just a great win for them on the road on Friday night. And like you said, they got, I think you said Southside this week in their first game in the conference.
Yeah.
So they get the chance to get themselves some momentum. And again, they're going to have to, rally around one another. Don't be complicated. Be simplistic in their approach with a new kid in there and go against a team that on paper they're better than. But at the end of the day, if they don't go there with a mentality like they had this past weekend, Southside's fully capable of beating them. And they can score points with the best of them. So good win for them. And good win for Coach Zollman, and a great job by their coaching staff of getting their kids ready to play in the midst of adversity, having to go back down there for week 2 and not having your starting quarterback.
Absolutely. So a lot of big games this weekend. I think right now we'll go ahead and take a break here on Upon Further Review. When we come back, we'll look at all of the next week's games. This for coming Friday for week 3. Just a reminder, this weekend we'll be at Lures for the Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Kickoff at 7, pregame at 6. Join us. We'll be right back here on Upon Further Review on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. We thank you for joining us each and every Wednesday night here on Upon Further Review. You can catch us on the radio here at 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, but also Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, you name it. Wherever you get your audio and video podcasts, you can join us each and every week. And Coach, it's a new week. Week 3, conference play begins. We'll look at some of the key games in our area in our week 3 slate of games. We talked pretty good. Snyder and Lures, our lead game. Both two teams 0-2. Probably for the first time in a long time where we've seen this. But, 0-0 in the conference play, have a chance to start a new trend and get up. I think what's been key about these two is that Lures 7 points of offense in the first 2 weeks. Snyder 33 points given up on defense average from Warsaw and East Noble in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, Snyder, they've combined wins and combined points wise. They've scored 37 and they've given up 67 on defense, where Lures is 7-27. But both have lost 3 in a row since the last game of last year to this point in time. And Lures has been a team that has traditionally started a little slower than maybe everyone else, especially with the large turnover that they had. And again, I always say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because what Coach does out there at Lures, I think, is one of the best coaching jobs around, where he just eventually finds out what is best suited for his group of kids that he has right now and the quarterback. And he really hones in on it, and they really start grinding it out. And that's when they start turning out the wins, So it's a team that you can never take too lightly. And Snyder will not take this team too lightly. They're not in a position to take anybody lightly now, since they've been 0-2. And, they had a little bit of a traumatic situation, I guess you could say, on Friday night with the young man having some problems after a certain play, and then, you know, ultimately having to be taken to the hospital. And like I said, everything that we have gathered, everything seems to be on the positive side with that. So that's, you know, a great thing. And they're going to have to rebound and regroup and make things simplistic so their kids can go out and play on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's a new ball game for both of these teams. We talked about the 0-2 starts for both of them. Realistically, I don't know when the last time it happened. It hasn't happened in like the last 31 years that I can see. And, you know, those of you who knew John Harrell and his site, go back and look through that. Part of that is Snyder and Luers played each other to open the season every year for most of the last 31 years, especially since before they split the SAC up into division. So these two teams haven't played each other in the last 2 years. It's an old rivalry that really took off in the 2000s, and now we're getting to see it back for a couple of years. So it should be an exciting one. That is our Midwest Box Breaks 1380 The Fan Game of the Week on Friday night out at Luers Field with the PSM High School Football Tailgate pregame show at 6. North Side Northrop, we talked about extensively. It should be a showcase of a lot of talent. And ultimately, somebody's going to move to 3-0, coach. And I think for both of these teams, just from a vantage point of where you are, you got to be feeling pretty good because winnable game for both of these teams, 3-0 chance for both of these teams.
Yeah, you would say this is a quote-unquote marquee game of the week here in the Fort Wayne area with these two teams that are undefeated, and both of them put on some points up on the board. You know, Northside's put up 60 and Northrop's put up 72, and we talked about Northrop's defense has really come around, only giving up 23 points to date. And last year at this time, they probably had over 70 given up at this time. It was one of their Achilles heels last year. They could score the points. It was just keeping the opponent out of the end zone. And you can see right now that has been addressed in their first 2 weeks, getting D. Hogue over there and some other talented kids. So, you know, good to see my alma mater off to a good start. It's good to see the kids have success because I'm sure they work hard at it like everyone does. And, you know, when you lose and it becomes a habit, it's hard to get out of that rut. And when you get out of that rut, you never want to go back. So you got the fear of losing again. And that's what propels these kids, is that they got a taste of what winning tastes like, and they kind of like it. And now they've got an opportunity to go up against a very talented Northside team. And you got to feel that these two teams are pretty equally matched. And, you know, Guilford's going to have to be the difference maker. Callison's going to have to continue on what he's doing. And their defense is going to have to rise up against a talented Northside offense. Absolutely.
We talked about it. Northside 2-0 for the first time since 2012. Ryan Hall, their coach at the time. Northrop 2-0 for the first time since 2006 with Ernie Bodrab as head coach. Also turns out that was the last time both of these teams was 2-0 to start the season. They didn't play again in 2006. That was until late, the second to last game of the season. But history made for the both of those teams. It's great to see because we do talk about the big boys a lot, but ultimately these guys, and Northrop's the biggest of the Fort Wayne Community Schools, but ultimately lean years that and they've got a lot of talent, so good to see. Another one in the SAC, Bishop Dwenger at Wayne. Game out at Wayne Stadium on Friday night. Dwenger, impressive over Toledo St. Francis de Sales.
That's a huge win.
Yeah, Wayne struggling in year one. I think, this will be a good matchup for Dwenger to start, coach. But Wayne trying to find something as well.
Yeah, Wayne right now has only scored 6 points in 2 games and have given up 75. So they've got a lot of things that they need to shore up and get ready to play a talented, tough-minded Bishop Dwenger team. And like I said, that game at Toledo St. Francis is a big win to go over there and beat them on the road. And going into the state of Ohio, where they feel that the Ohio high school football is the king of all kings in the Midwest. And it was nice to see a Bishop Dwenger team go over there and introduce them to Indiana football. More importantly, Fort Wayne, Indiana football, and did it in a way that made us all proud. And they got a chance this week to get another victory and get themselves to 2-1. And I still think they're a team that has Summit Athletic Conference championship aspirations this year, and maybe has the team to do that if they can continue on the right track with their offense and their defense, because their defense is good, real good.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the key component. Can their offense give them enough to get wins?
Yeah, 15 points again given up against St. Francis of Toledo. Only 3 in that 3-0, what we call soccer score. So 18 points total so far through the non-conference slate for Dwenger. Their offense came alive over the week. Beckham Russell, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the defense, Carter's in, a pick 6. Jackson Parrish, an interception. They had a forced fumble and fumble recovery, Doug Henry on that one. And first out-of-state win for Dwenger since 2013, 31-24 overtime win over Cincinnati LaSalle. That stat coming from our friends over at Outside the Huddle and Blitz. And so that was a monumental win, just because Dwenger fans probably knew that stat too in the scheme of things, because they take on a lot of hard teams from Indianapolis and Ohio both. And one quick note about that Wayne game on Friday night, they're going to honor the 1995 4A state champion. It's the 30th anniversary for Wayne State Championship team. Just a great run that they had, and winning Quavis Tate, the Ewell Wilson Award winner that season for SAC Player of the Year. So congratulations to that team. I found this picture from one of their yearbooks, but 30 years, Coach. And real quickly, I mean, to see something like that, Wayne, 4A state champions in 1995, like, wow, like where things have gone for like football in our area since then.
Yeah. And they had some teams back in those days that, they were pretty darn good there through the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, very
out
good
there
team.
At Wayne, and Coach Newland did a great job out there. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, having passed away this past summer. And he had a unique characteristic to get a bunch of kids that together and mold them into some really good football players. You mentioned Quavis Tate, and there were some others there that played. I recruited Quavis back in my days at Ball State, and Bostwick, I think.
Yeah, Cornelius Bowick. Yeah,
I'm trying
Kevin
to think.
Craig. Just
Cornelius,
pull up the list here.
Yeah,
Cornelius Sharp, now with Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Yeah,
we
Virgil
know him.
was there.
He was an all-state player later. He was, I think, a sophomore that season. And Jason Baker, the kicker and the punter, shows up on that starting lineup from what I got from here.
You just mentioned a couple guys there. Well, Baker, he had the NFL playing time.
He played at Iowa and then went on to the NFL with the Panthers and ran a camp for a number of years here in Fort Wayne. And he would be cool to have on the show, but we might have to have a 2-hour show that night because he is a talker, but good guy, Jason Baker, and what he gives back to the community.
But again, it goes back to the fact that Fort Wayne has a long, storied history in high school football when it comes to kids going on to the next level, highest level, playing Division I football, be it MAC, be it Big Ten, be whatever. But then the guys that have gone on to play in the NFL, and we've got two currently with Tippmann with the Jets and
well, there's several. Alexander
from Wayne.
Yeah,
he's with the Giants.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, Skoranek still, Bates, of course, in my mind, a Pro Bowl safety that hasn't made that yet. But
yeah, I know. I don't know if I know Ben was with Pittsburgh, but I hadn't heard.
yeah,
what
I thought that he made the 53-man roster.
Well, he should. I mean, the kid plays anything and everything without.
Yeah, he made the Steelers cut. So he's with the Steelers. So there have been several that, and then, you get guys that make it through the way that maybe they get on a practice squad and so, it'll be interesting to see with that. But congratulations to Wayne. That is, a lot of people go, wait, what? 1995, Wayne won a football state championship in Class 4A. And back then, I don't think there was only probably four or five classes.
Five classes.
Maybe five by that point. Yeah, because Snyder had won. 92, they went to state too. Snyder won the 5A. Wayne was the runner-up in 4A. So, and I'm sure Lures was probably down there too, not having the list. But great times for them. So congrats to them. I know East Noble celebrated the 25th anniversary of their team on Friday. Don't want to forget mentioning them as well. So that's pretty cool. Real quickly, let's do these other slate of games. Carroll at Concordia. We have Homestead at Southside. And then some of the other conference games, we talked about it a little bit with Alex Scott. Huntington North travels to East Noble. These two teams played twice last year, regular season and regional. After that dream season for Huntington North, East Noble gets all the way to state. That should be one. DeKalb and New Haven. DeKalb on the up with Ryan Roberson, their new head coach, the old defensive coordinator at DeKalb. Making the trip to New Haven. New Haven showed improvement from week 1 or 2. This could be a really good ball team from two teams that, coach, they have a chance to win this and go into this game. Even though New Haven's 0-2, DeKalb 1-1, I think winnable game for both of these teams.
Oh yeah, it should be a good ball game on Friday night there at New Haven.
Yeah, and then we move on to the ACAC, the big one there, where the dominoes start to fall. South Adams at Bluffton, two top 10 teams in their respective classes. South Adams got beat by Marion Local last week, and Bluffton off to a good start too. So, there again, conference play now. These are the games that you play. Only 6 teams in the ACAC, starting off with a big one with these two teams that have really found success.
Yeah, it should be a good one and a chance for South Adams to rebound after playing a really good team there in Ohio.
Yeah, and another game in the NECC, West Noble and Eastside. One's in the Eastside's in the small division, West Noble in the big division, kind of cross rival, but two strong teams. Eastside looks great. I know they lost last week to Adams Central, but a strong team. West Noble, they lose the Pruitt to graduation, but I mean they are really stocked at the running back position. That should be a fun one up in Butler.
Yeah, that should be another dandy of a game, and of course up there at Butler, which will be a rowdy and ruckus time there for Eastside and West Noble. So another great week of football behind us, another one ahead of us, with us venturing out to Lures to catch the Snyder at Bishop Lures in the Midwest Box Breaks High School Football Game of the Week. Remember, the PSM pregame shows at 6 o'clock with myself, Doot, and Jim Shevlin. And remember, each and every week you can catch us right back here on 1380 The Fan on Wednesday night, as well as other app like YouTube and X and any other platform. You can find us by just searching Upon Further Review SAC. Eric, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you Friday night there at Lures, ready to go at 6 o'clock. And we will bring you back next week to get you all caught up on what happened on Friday night. So for Eric Dukevich, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. We'll see you next time, all right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, Upon Further Review. Good night, everybody.